So you've paid all that money, you've spent all that time only to have your visa application denied. I know exactly how that feels, okay? Which is why in this video, I'm going to be running through some of the most common reasons for why a lot of people's visas often get denied. So the first common reason that a lot of people generally tend to have their visas denied for is when they have unexplained amounts of deposits in their bank account. Okay, by this I mean basically that the Home Office has seen on the financial statements that you've provided that there are unexplained and particularly large sums of funds in the account statements that you're providing. Okay, so the way you want to make sure you're tackling this is to make sure that for all your funds that are in the bank account, you want to make sure that you're providing relevant proof and evidence to support it. Okay, so for instance, if you've recently sold property, you want to make sure that you're attaching the sale deeds of that property onto your documentation. Things like these are just examples of some of the ways in which you can provide proof so that you avoid making such a mistake in which you then end up having your visa denied. So another common reason that a lot of people tend to have their visas denied for is when they show an unacceptable birth or marriage certificate. So this basically happens when you've provided a birth or marriage certificate that isn't actually in an acceptable format by the embassy. An example of where such a thing might happen is where the names of both parents are shown in one way on the birth certificate but then presented in a different way on the marriage certificate. You want to make sure that when you're providing documentation such as birth and marriage certificate, you want to make sure that your spouse, both yourself and your spouse's name, match and appear in the same way as they do on both certificates. Okay. Another classic scenario for this is when you're a single parent and you have failed to provide the relevant documentation showing that you have sole custody of that child or those children. So you want to make sure that in either of these two cases, the documentation that you're providing is actually set out in the correct format. Next common reason for visa refusal is when documents are actually submitted in the wrong format. Okay, a lot of the time when you're making such applications, the Home Office itself will require that you send a lot of your documentation in its original format. Please, please, please don't send photocopies, okay? Send the original. If they're requesting for the original, you need to make sure that you're sending the original and that it is dated correctly and it is in the appropriate format that it is being requested in. Failing to do so is only giving the Home Office a reason to actually deny your visa. The next common reason that a lot of visas tend to get refused is when you have failed to show that there's actually an intention for you to return back to your home at the end of the visit. For instance, a lot of people when they make their application fail to show the Home Office that they have work, family or education commitments that they have to return back home to. They'll expect to see evidence such as work, education or even family commitments, okay, showing that you have some sort of family ties and intentions of returning back home. The next common reason that a lot of people tend to have their visas denied is actually when they fail to show a valid purpose or intention for their visit. So if you're coming to the UK on a business trip, for instance, you need to make sure that you're providing a relevant letter or documentation that shows proof of this, dates and details of the business trip and the relevant venue if applicable, and also who it is you're actually coming to visit. If you're coming to the UK for the purpose of attending a particular event or a particular show, for instance, then making sure that you have the relevant tickets and details of that event or of that show will be very important to ensuring that your visa application is actually successful. So I hope all of this has been useful. Do make sure you give this video a like. Remember to subscribe for more UK relocation resources.